Hi, and welcome to Tapped Into Hudson. I'm Steve Lennox, and I'm the publisher of Tap Into Bayonne, Tap Into Jersey City, and Tap Into Hoboken. Last week's show, we had Michael Harper. He's the director of the Board of Elections for Hudson County. We talked about all the ways to vote this year. November 2nd, of course, is Election Day. You can also vote early at one of 10 locations across Hudson County, or you can vote by mail. But without any more pontificating or ruminating on any particular issues, I want to get right to our guest today, because we're talking about a very important topic, COVID. This is something we've talked about every show, I'd say, since we started almost. Carrie Nawrocki is the director of the Hudson Regional Health Commission. Carrie, thank you so much for joining us. When you were here in February, actually we did it remotely in February of this year, you were just getting started the vaccination program in Hudson County. Give us an overview of where that's gone.
Right, so we actually started in December of 2020, right before Christmas. And our vaccination program began at our drive-through site. As you know, I think you were there in the beginning, yes, in Kearney at the USS Juneau. And since then, while we still operate there, we have been going into the community. So we have a mobile unit and we go to street fairs. We have been working with schools. We even will go on the street corner. Anywhere that people want to get vaccinated is where we're going.
And Carrie, in June, I believe it was, or maybe early July, Hudson County reached the threshold of 70% of the residents having at least one dose of the vaccine. That was a critical milestone, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's huge. I actually just checked the data this morning, and we are at 87% of Hudson County eligible residents to be vaccinated. So that means 87% of residents 12 and up have had at least one dose of COVID vaccine. We are amongst the highest vaccination rates in New Jersey, Hudson County, and I'm very proud of that.
What is it that Hudson County has done, and of course the Health Commission has done to get to that number?
So like I said, we're going out into the community. We still operate the drive-through, so people know they can always go there. We'll always be there to vaccinate. But we are noticing that when we bring the vaccine to the community, when we're on the street corner, if it's there, people, they're still wanting it.
It took a long time to get some people convinced that it was the right thing to do, didn't it?
Yeah.
What were their concerns?
I mean, it's natural. It's something that's new and unknown, but I think over time, the safety and the efficacy has really been proven. There's also a lot of misinformation out there, and it's nice when we are in the community that we can really explain to people one-on-one that this is safe and it's effective, and it's really a way to get back to our lives, and people can enjoy the things that they did before.
Now, when you speak about the efficacy and people's concerns and the misinformation, Hudson County Executive Tom DeGise has spent an incredible amount of time advocating for the vaccine. The Board of County Commissioners have. I think every mayor in Hudson County has. Of course, your commission has. What are you finding out there, though, in terms of the people that are still reluctant? I mean, that you're able to get to them?
Yeah, like I said, sometimes it's access. Sometimes, people are working during the day, or they're having a hard time just having easy access to the vaccine. So in some cases it's access, and in some cases it is misinformation. People are worried about the side effects, and we can explain that side effects are expected, but they're short term, and that the benefits definitely outweigh any side effects that you're going to be experiencing.
What are some of the side effects that people have experienced?
It's very common to have a headache, soreness at the injection site, tired for a couple of days, but that generally goes away. We haven't had any major reactions, and we have administered over 65,000 vaccines.
At one point, Carrie, you were doing 1,600 vaccinations a day at the site in Kearney.
Right.
How did that work?
It was an incredible feat. We had support from Hudson County, especially the county executive, and we had so many resources, but we literally could vaccinate. We went through, I believe it was 16 cars every 3 minutes to come in and out of the vaccine site. We had nurses lined up, registration lined up, and we're still there. The pace has obviously slowed down, right, but we're still there.
And where did the nurses come from? I mean, again, an incredible operation. You must have had dozens of nurses working, I would think.
Yes, we did. So what actually helped us ramp up for this was the testing site. So we originally had, we were strictly run by volunteers and by Hudson Regional Health Commission. And then we were able to transition from the testing site to the vaccine site, and then we're able to hire more staff too. So we've been incredibly lucky. We've had such dedicated nurses and still the volunteers too.
So unlike the testing, when it sort of hit you all at once and there must have been a, oh my God, what is going on here sort of feeling, you had time to think about the vaccines. You knew that they were coming. You had time to ramp up. You had the experience with the testing already. Is that true? And
It is true. I mean, it definitely came a little bit quicker than I mean, it was great that it came quicker. We kind of found out about a week before that we were going to have it in hand, and we mobilized as quickly as possible. Like, we knew, and we still know, the way to end this pandemic is to have everyone vaccinated, and that's how we're going to move forward.
And there's some folks out there still refuse to be vaccinated. They think it's not the right thing. They're getting that misinformation online, whether it's Facebook or some not so reputable media sources. What do you say to those folks?
I mean, I really wish they would listen to the public health officials and even their friends and family. You know, not only do you get the vaccine to protect yourself, but you're doing it for your friends and family and for people who can't get vaccinated, like the younger children right now. And for anyone who may be vaccinated, who may end up getting sick anyway, you know, the more people vaccinated, the more likely we are to get out of this.
We're never going to get to 100% vaccination, I would imagine. What's the ultimate goal? Where do you want to get to?
I would love to get to 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I'm in 95%,
Okay.
close to 100%
But
would be great.
you're holding firm and you're going to keep working towards that.
Yes.
Carrie, we're going to take a break. I know there's other things we can do to fight COVID, and I want you to talk about that when we come back after a few seconds here. Carrie Nawrocki, Director of the Hudson Regional Health Commission, is joining us today on Tapped into Hudson to talk about the fight against COVID.
Introducing the all-new Ford Maverick. A truck for people who do stuff. And people who make stuff. People like Gabrielle Union,
I make this look good, don't I?
who haul whatever they want to wherever they want. Like wood to build things made of wood with. And friends to get weird with. It's for long trips that the standard hybrid engine with a targeted EPA estimated city fuel economy rating of 40 miles per gallon helps with. That an 8-inch touchscreen connects with. And any trip that this interior makes more comfortable. But we'll let Gabrielle tell you all about it.
Or I could just tell them it's a Ford truck that starts at less than $20,000 MSRP.
Yep, that works too. The all-new Ford Maverick, built to defy expectations.
Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights, your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments, carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants, all major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
Hi, and welcome back to Tapped into Hudson. I'm Steve Lenox, and I'm the publisher of Tap into Bayonne, Tap into Jersey City, and Tap into Hoboken. Our last segment, we had a conversation with Carrie Nawrocki, the Director of the Hudson Regional Health Commission. I think I messed up the last name that time. I did well the first time, but I blew it on the second one. Carrie, we were talking about vaccines. You want to get to 100%. You're going to keep working towards getting to 100%. I know there's other things we can do to fight COVID, but before we get to that, boosters are out now.
Okay.
Who's eligible for them?
So just to start from the beginning, so the Hudson County COVID vaccination team, we are administering all 3 vaccines at our site. So our mobile sites as well as our site, that's the drive-through still. So we are administering Moderna, Pfizer, and the Johnson & Johnson. The first and second doses of Moderna and Pfizer, and the 1 dose of Johnson & Johnson. So following that are now the third doses and booster doses. So those are different. So the third doses of vaccine are from Moderna and Pfizer for both of those. And those are for people who may not have received a full immunity from the first 2 doses. So that's the third dose of vaccine. That's at least 28 days after your second dose of Moderna or Pfizer.
Okay.
So we are administering that. And now the new news are the booster doses. So the booster doses are for individuals who, it's only for the Pfizer vaccine.
Okay.
And it's for individuals who may have immunocompromising situations, who may have underlying health conditions that put them at greater risk for the vaccine waning. So the Pfizer vaccine, anyone who's received it 6 months ago, who fits into certain categories, is eligible for the booster dose. It gets a little confusing between the booster doses and the third doses, but it is important to remember that the booster dose is for Pfizer only.
Okay.
It's for 6 months after your second vaccine of Pfizer, and is for certain individuals.
Who should be going for the third dose then?
Okay. For the third dose are people who have immunocompromising situations. They may
Okay.
be taking immunosuppressing medications. Those will be for the third dose. The booster dose has different categories, and that's, again, where it gets a little complicated, but just to get the message out is important. The booster dose is for individuals that are 65 and older, who live in any long-term care type of settings, individuals who are 50 to 64 years old, who have any underlying medical conditions. That's who it's really recommended for. And then there is one more kind of tier for that. That is anyone 18 to 49 who has an underlying condition, and anyone who may be at high risk of exposure during their job. And those groups of people, they're supposed to be consulting with their physicians to weigh the benefits and the risk of the booster dose.
Okay, and Carrie, earlier this year when the COVID vaccinations first came out, they kind of rolled them out group by group by group.
Right.
And it sounds like that's what they're doing with the booster and the third dose.
Right.
So we should probably expect at some point they're going to continue to expand that base of patients or of residents that should be getting that third dose?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, really the booster.
The booster, I'm sorry.
Yes,
the
no,
booster.
exactly.
Okay.
That's, it is confusing.
Yes.
So I do believe over time as a vaccine, if it wanes, that eligible group will expand. But right now they're focusing on the high risk groups.
And a lot of people question the vaccine, the third dose, the booster, the first, the second dose, as they relate to these new strains that are coming out. Of course, we've got the Delta strain, the Delta variant, which seems to be wreaking the most havoc right now.
That's right.
Now, if you read some outlets, there's a fourth and a fifth and a sixth strain coming down the road. Are these vaccines built to withstand them as well?
Yeah, right now the vaccines we have are effective against
Okay.
it's a Delta variant.
And that's important.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's other things we can be doing to fight COVID. And this is stuff we started learning immediately when COVID came out, right? Wearing the masks, social distancing. These are all still just as important as ever, aren't
Absolutely. Like vaccine is just one layer of protection, but also masking and social distancing. Still wash your hands and do all the regular disease prevention you can.
Like you've probably said many times, this is stuff we learned in kindergarten, really, wash your
Yeah.
hands and all that. But we're still getting that message out to people. How long are we going to be talking about COVID?
I think it's going to be for at least for another couple of years.
Okay.
But hopefully the narrative will change and we'll be able to live with it easier, and everyone will become vaccinated, and it'll be just something that we live with.
It seems that we're getting to that point. Even now, we're sitting here, we are 6 feet apart, but we've got the masks off. We're not doing it remotely like we did 9 or 10 months ago. It seems like we are getting used to living with it. And
Yeah.
that's the future we're looking at for a little while, isn't it?
Agreed. I think we'll see waves.
Okay.
There will be times where there'll be more COVID transmission in the community where we may need to take, different steps. Like maybe you and I would be wearing masks sitting here. So I think it will still have some waves left, but hopefully it will start to go away.
So without putting words into your mouth, your message to residents all over the country, all over the world, would be continue taking those precautions. Keep the masks handy at least. Keep the sanitizer in your pocket.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And Carrie, the last question I want to ask you, what is the greatest lesson we've learned since COVID broke out?
Oh, that's such a great question. I really think working together with all levels of government on a response like this has been, that's been the lesson learned for me, that, the incredible support from our community and from our elected officials. This can't be done without that type of support and desire to help people.
Right. Carrie, it's been great having you today. And then, like I said, we're going to have no trouble filling the 12 minutes. We could probably talk for 12 more. I want to thank you and thank your team for everything you've done trying to keep us healthy. We've lost too many residents across Hudson County, New Jersey, and the globe. But what you guys have done, I've been to the site there in Kearney, and I was there when you opened it, and really quite an operation you put together. And I know it took incredible amounts of time away from your family. You put yourself at risk on a daily basis, as did your entire team. Thank you so much for that. I hope everybody will thank Carrie and appreciate the work that they all did, all the health professionals, all the first responders that were out there. With that, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with Al Sullivan, reporter for TapInto Bayonne in Jersey City. Thank you.
Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and large inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net.
TapInto Properties, Jersey City, shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office spaces and addresses your company desires. Building residences that define your home environment, adjacent to all modes of transportation with on-site parking available. The right address, the right lease. Call 201-521-9000 or visit online at panapintodevelopment.com. Panapinto Properties, building Jersey City for everyone.
Hi, and welcome back to Tapped into Hudson. I'm Steve Lennox. I'm the publisher of Tap into Bayonne, Tap into Hoboken, and Tap into Jersey City. On Saturday, both Al Sullivan and I, my second guest, we were at Liberty State Park. We were there for dueling rallies regarding the future of the park. Both sides say they want to save Liberty State Park. In fact, that's the name of one of the groups. It's Liberty State Park for All and Friends of Liberty State Park. Very complicated issue. Al Sullivan, you've been covering this for, I don't want to age you, but decades, I would imagine, at this point.
Yes.
Al, why don't we go all the way back to the beginning of Liberty State Park, its founding, what it was meant to be?
Well, it was meant to be a people's park. In other words, Morris saved it. There's a famous canoe ride where he took a canoe through that area and showed what it could be. And his lobbying, his ability to bring people together to get resources allowed this to become one of the premier state parks in New Jersey.
And it's a beautiful location. I mean, you're looking at it, not just the New York skyline, the
Right.
Statue of Liberty, you're looking at the Jersey City skyline. You're watching some kids flying kites, families having barbecues.
Absolutely.
When you say Morris, of course, you mean Morris Pessin. And as you said, he was a pioneer for building that park.
Absolutely.
Some will say that there were some promises made when the park was built in the late 1970s that haven't been maintained or kept.
Well, that's the issue.
Yeah.
In other words, there was provision in the original plans to provide some sort of, I guess, accommodation for the community that's there, which is it abuts the poorest neighborhood in the city, Ward F. And the city has been trying to find accommodations in parks. They built Berry Lane. But you have this facility, and it was promised that they would put some sort of recreation in there in the beginning, and that never materialized. And that's part of where the protests came, the counter protests or whatever
Right.
you want, was that they are pointing out this fact. And, you know, it's being labeled as a billionaire against the people. It's billionaire against billionaire because everybody's got a lot of money.
Everybody's got their financial support
Right.
behind them. Before we even talk about adding the recreation and what the families and the children and the mothers and the fathers and the community leaders think is missing and what Ward F is being deprived of, we have this issue, as you said, of the one side saying we're fighting this billionaire, we're fighting this guy who owns the beautiful golf course, wants to intrude on our land, wants to build 3 more golf holes, wants to build whatever else there. Governor Christie at one point proposed some building on the parkland.
Right.
Talk about that.
There was a New Jersey Futures, which is a nonpartisan planning. They came up with a concept that, because Christie proposed that state parks somehow be able to generate money for their own upkeep. And it was a really good idea. One of the few from him. I'm showing my bias. But New Jersey Futures came and they said they proposed a plan for saving the train station, which is a historic train station. But it's crumbling. Sandy destroyed parts of it. Some of the historic elements have been destroyed because of Sandy, and they were never restored because the state is in financial ruin and they don't have the money. So this plan would have built a hotel there and would have provided reconstruction of the trains and multiple uses. And then off-site at what is now the DPW would have been an amusement park generating money. It became a political football because it was Christie, and some of the decision-making would have shifted away from Pessin and the Department of Wildlife, which is under the DEP, to the Meadowlands Commission, which is, which was originally a development body, but now really is into environmental. But the problem is, it's that who gets to decide.
You use the name Pessin again, but it's not the same Morris Pessin
I'm
we
sorry.
talked about. No, that's okay.
Yes, what do you call it? It's the son. They passed on to, and he's a great guy. I mean, and he's really an advocate for the park.
And he drew an amazing crowd on Saturdays. He does.
He has an amazing crowd. But that there are many of the people who always come out for him. Okay, he did not cross that color line, even though there were some African Americans but they were running for election. the crowd was largely his usual progressive people and environmentalists, whereas the billionaire crowd had all of the African Americans and other neighborhood people, really legitimate neighborhood people who wanted these things. The uptick of those is the fact that because there was this alternative voice saying you didn't live up to it, it's pushing some of the people behind Sam Pessin to make modifications and provide those things. In that way, this discussion is actually accomplishing something very significant.
And a lot of passion on both sides.
Oh, yeah. There's no, the rhetoric was high and mighty on both sides.
And now we're going to take a break right now. But when we come back, in the background of this whole conversation also is a piece of legislation, the Liberty State Park Protection Act.
Right.
So if you don't mind, when we come back, we're going to talk about that,
Absolutely.
what that means for the future of Liberty State Park.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back with Al Sullivan, reporter for Tap into Jersey City and Tap into Bayonne.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers a quality of life you deserve in one of our many high-rise towers. With amenities such as the on-site Newport Path, light rail, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Kohl's, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams and Acme Supermarket are just outside your front door. A health and fitness center, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. Enjoy the New York skyline from our waterfront and various parks. Manhattan is just one pass stop away, or a quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Looking to visit? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. For more information, visit us at newportnj.com. Make lasting memories to cherish forever. It's incredible. It's you, Newport. Live like you want.
Good Friend Self Storage in North Bergen, New Jersey is a fully climate-controlled facility equipped with state-of-the-art security, packing supplies, a Refer a Friend program, and multiple loading docks convenient for commercial use. Located just off of Route 3 at 4301 Tunnelly Avenue, Route 1 and 9. Call 201-867-2444 or visit us on the web today. Good Friend Self Storage. Let us be your good friend.
Hi, and welcome back to the final segment of Tapped into Hudson. We've got Al Sullivan joining us. Al, of course, is our intrepid reporter covering Bayonne and Jersey City. This weekend, as we've been discussing, Al was covering a rally, dueling rallies at Liberty State Park. Both sides talking about saving the park. Both sides have different ideas on what that means. But in the background, there is this discussion about the Liberty State Park Protection Act.
Right.
Besides being a mouthful, what is that bill all about?
The bill was sponsored initially by Senator Cunningham and Raj, who was the assemblyman. And
Assemblyman McCurgy.
Yep. I can never pronounce his last name. Can spell it though. And it was designed to provide protection against future development of the park, because there have been numerous attempts to redevelop. Even Michael Jackson got in the mix at one point. I mean, everybody wants that park, and it's been a threat. There's been a threat for racetrack. There's been a threat for a lot of items. So what this bill would do, essentially, or is being sponsored, would prevent anybody from redeveloping for private sector. The problem is that the other side, which is, the billionaire, which is Fireman, Paul Fireman, who owns the golf course, wants a piece of the park to extend his golf course. But he's willing to give back to the park for that change. And so this law would also prevent that. Ultimately, the real problem with it for the other side, which was the park
community,
for all, is the fact that the same people who now control the park, which is Friends, would be the committee that this legislation authorizes. And the other side is saying there are not enough voices in that, and there needs to be other people who are in control of it. As Sam Pessin opposed the Meadowlands Commission because it was, didn't have local control, these people were saying, well, you're edging us out. And the act would do that because it sets up a committee which they claim is the same people that now control it.
And the group that was there on behalf of Liberty State Park for all, the children that were there with their football uniforms, they're just looking for playing fields, they're looking for basketball courts. Is that about it?
Yes, because that's the stuff that, Jersey City has a big disparity in resources. The city has tried to change that, but you have Pershing Field in the north, and you have Liberty State Park, Lincoln Park on the west side. You don't really have these kind of facilities in the most needy part of the city. And that was promised initially, and that's what they're looking for.
Al, as long as you've been covering this, where do you see this argument going?
I think we're seeing a shift partly because some of the leadership in the legislature and the governor have decided that this isn't just saving the park anymore, that there are other issues that need to be resolved. And I think that we're seeing a shift in the conversation. As I said, they've modified the act to include some of the issues raised by these other groups. And I think that's healthy, and I think that's where it's going to eventually end up.
And the DEP recently released a plan to take care of some of that space that's underutilized. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Well, there's large portions of the park that need contamination cleanup. I mean, like everywhere else, chromium's everywhere. And the state did not have the money. Well, they found the resources. Again, this conversation is forcing all of these bodies to reevaluate what they should have done in the first place. And that plan addresses a lot of that contamination, and it opens up more of the park to the public and also wildlife.
It cleans up some of the contaminated space. Usually it caps some of it, but it protects the fish, it protects the birds, it protects the refuge that's still there.
Right, and there's a large refuge. I mean, the fight over the 22 acres is somewhat dishonest because there's 250 acres of wetlands there that attract the same. So if you lose the 22 acres, you still have the other 250 acres.
Al, you did a great job reporting on the story on Saturday, and I appreciate that. I know our readers appreciate it. I think without sounding too Pollyanna-ish, we all want to be friends of Liberty State Park, right? And we all want Liberty State Park to really be for everyone. We want to see it opened up for Ward F so they can have their park space. They need recreation space. I think that's very clear. And I can't imagine there's too many people that argue that the children in Ward F and the adults, because we had senior citizens there saying, we need a place to go play, pinochle or whatever it is the ladies do down there that I met. Or Boshi, whatever the case may be. So we're going to keep covering it, obviously. Something tells me Saturday wasn't the end of the conversation. No, it's another beginning after, almost 40 or 50 years of this.
Well, it's shifting to the legislature now, and what the governor and what the head of the Senate and the head of the Assembly do. That's where both sides are petitioning them. So now we'll see what they do.
We'll keep pulling the levers of government. We'll keep reporting on it. With that, I want to thank Al Sullivan for joining us. As a reminder, if you haven't been vaccinated yet, trust the science, get that shot in your arm. Let's fight COVID and get this done with once and for all so we can go back to living normal. Thank you so much for watching Tapped into Hudson. We'll see you next week.